Your Platinum Trophy problems solved.
Joel, how do you make trophy hunting feel less stale?
So, nipple clamps, right? Car battery. You connect the two. Every 5 minutes you don't get a trophy, it goes off. If you want to get even more hardcore, a chair. Cut the seat off the chair. Sit down naked. Seen Casino Royale? You have someone next to you, whack you with a rope every 10 minutes. And I think that would make it much less stale.
What if you don't have a car battery or a friend to whip your testicles with a knotted rope?
Oh, you don't need a friend. There's websites. You can get anybody to do it. I know 10, 20 people around my area that would do it for free.
Imagine you would.
Definitely. I wouldn't be sat there, but I'm not trying to make trophy hunting less stale. I don't think it's stale at all. But for masochists out there, that's what I would do. Problem solved.
Well, to give a more serious answer compared to Joel's glorious insight there, you need variety. If you play one type of game, one genre too long, you're always going to get bored of it eventually. You need something fresh to spice it up. So you go from racing, you'll go to fighting. Not fighting because I hate fighting, it's boring as hell and I'm bad at it. But, you know, Lewis is quite good at it. But the point stands. Vary your genres just a bit here and there, and don't always go for the same type of games. You go for games that are too easy all the time, you're going to get bored. If you go for games that are too stressful and hard, you're going to burn out. You need to really vary this and move from a different genre, a different difficulty, and just spice it up a bit. And I think that's the true secret to not letting trophies get stale. And you know, most important, take breaks every now and again. Breaks are very much required in everything, and especially when it comes to trophies.
Lewis, why do guides always say the platinum trophies are easy?
I've got a little bit of a chip on my shoulder about this, to be fair, because I have noticed, I've played a lot of games, and I've been a little bit critical in some videos about some dude being like, this game's a 2 out of 10, and you go on it, and you've got to play the game on hard, and you're like, I've just died in 4 shots, this is not a 2 out of 10. Thinking about Crisis, it comes to mind, because that's about 5 out of 10 difficulty, and the guy says it's a 3 when you've got to play the game on hard difficulty, and it's 2 shots and dead, so it's not. I think it's like a mixture of bias, in a sense of like recency bias, where to get the platinum, you've got to have maybe not mastered the game, but you've got to beat the game to a level where you have been able to beat it and get every single trophy. So you're going to have a high skill level. So you may have started the game at a point where you're struggling, but then by the time you finish the game, you're so much better at it that you can't remember what it was actually like when you started. So I think the recency bias is a big thing. I think people don't kind of take a step back and go, oh yeah, Bloodborne's only a 4 out of 10. And then forget that it took them 400 attempts to beat one boss. So I think people need to, when they write the guide, to forget that, and they need to go back and just think how hard it was when they started and how hard different parts were. And I think I'd just like to say that's not. And I think, again, good old Platinum Trophy hunting ego comes in, where people are like, I'm not going to tell anybody how hard it was, because that makes me look like I'm a bad gamer, and I'm writing a guide in the game, so I can't be saying the game's actually hard. I don't get criticism for saying the game's too hard when it's not. So I think that's why I think people are afraid to be called bad gamers.
Is it in your case just not a skill issue?
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
Well, to go off the ego thing that Lewis mentioned as well, people are always scared of feeling like the bad gamers to find something hard. It's not bad to admit that you've found something hard. That's actually good. If you've actually done something, you've still done it. Why does it matter if it was hard? Recency bias, as Lewis said, is a real thing, and it really clouds a lot of people's minds. You need to really evaluate your struggle along the way. By the end of it, everyone's going to find it easy, let's be honest, because you've gained the skills. But that's not the point. You're writing a guide for someone else. You need to mention that struggle throughout it. But again, people can get beyond ego and they can get elitist. People will go, we see on Discord, Reddit, everywhere, they're like, oh, popping in, people are like, I'm really struggling with this, but rather giving tips, they're like, that's a 3 out of 10, it's easy, I did it with my hands behind my back, I did it in my swimming pool, it's easy, my kid can do it. It's like, bugger off. We don't want that. That's elitism, and that is not what you should be doing in a community, let alone a trophy hunting community. You need to be helping people, giving tips, and I think that is one thing that some guide writers have. They get to the point where, like, I'm a god. You know, I mean, there is gods like Joel with DMC5, but that's a different story. So people just need to like wind their necks in and just realize that some of these things are hard. Different people have different skills in different games, and that will really affect how some people handle games and how they rate difficulties.
I'll add to it quickly and say, another example I can think of is when I played Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Now the person at the guide was probably a fighting player. They're probably really good at fighting games, so they put the game at a 5 out of 10, and that was like the hardest platinum I've ever done. I would have probably said an 8 or a 9 out of 10, and it was like so disgusting. But if you've only played fighting games, obviously you're gonna find it easier, and I think you need to kind of, when you write a guide, you need to write it for the general gamer, not someone who plays fighting games, someone who plays shooting games, anything like that. You kind of, it's not about being, if you're good at a genre, you shouldn't then be like, assume everyone's going to be good at a genre. Everyone has this base level of skill, which they just don't. Everyone has a base level of skill gaming wise, but not for every single genre. So they need to make the guides, the difficulties for guides, a lot more just generalized.
So, Devil May Cry 5. It wasn't easy. That's it.
If you play tons of racing games in a row, it's going to get boring, even if you love them. You need to... What?
You said racist game.
Racing games. Racing, not racist.
Oh, okay. Right. Just making sure. Just making sure. Oh, yeah.
It's going in, yeah. All right.
I wasn't expecting something answer.
I like to please.
Do you have a more serious take on
Height problems, you know. It's discrimination against us midgets.
Yeah, I agree. You allowed to say midgets?
Dwarf. I'm a dwarf. I identify as a dwarf.
But yeah, I'm bad at games. Just put that in there.